The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with the usual sounds of 500 different species discussing trade agreements, border disputes, and cultural exchanges. Located in the neutral zone of the Andromeda Arm, the massive crystal dome allowed representatives to gaze up at the stars they all shared. For 3,000 years, this chamber had been the heart of galactic diplomacy. Elder Zix Terran of the Voldari settled his crystalline form into his seat. At 900 years old, very little surprised him anymore. The Voldari had been founding members of the Council, and Zix Terran had personally witnessed the admission of 47 new species during his lifetime, including, most recently, the curious bipeds from the small blue planet in the unfashionable Western Spiral Arm. Humans had only joined the galactic community 80 years ago, remarkably fast by Council standards. Most species took centuries to be granted full membership, but humans had brought interesting innovations in quantum communications, unusual art forms that strangely appealed across species boundaries, and a refreshing directness to diplomatic matters. The human ambassador requests emergency speaking privileges, announced the automated translation system. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Emergency privileges were rarely invoked. Granted, said High Chancellor Clavari, her 6 eyes blinking. In sequence, a sign of curiosity in her species. The central holographic platform activated, and the image of Ambassador Elaine Mercer appeared. The human woman wore the standard blue and silver diplomatic uniform of Earth. Her face, usually animated and friendly, appeared strangely blank. Honorable representatives of the Galactic Council, she began, her voice flat and formal. As of this moment at 15 Universal Standard Time, humanity is severing all diplomatic ties with the Galactic Council and its member species. The translation system struggled to keep up as hundreds of delegates began speaking at once. Chancellor, Clavari raised all 4 of her arms, calling for silence. Ambassador Mercer, surely there is room for discussion. Our decision is final. Mercer continued as if she hadn't heard. All human embassies across Council space will close within 24 hours. All human representatives will return to Earth. Any non-human vessels entering Sol space after this time will be considered hostile and dealt with accordingly. Elder Zix Terran leaned forward, his crystal facets reflecting light in patterns of confusion. In 3 millennia of Council records, no species had ever completely withdrawn from galactic society. Ambassador, he called out, his voice resonating with harmonics that conveyed his concern. Has Earth received some offense? If so, the Council must be given opportunity to make amends. For the first time, Mercer's expression changed slightly, a small flicker of what might have been regret. This is not a negotiation, this is not a protest, this is a notification. Her eyes swept the chamber one last time. Goodbye. The hologram vanished. For 10 full seconds, the Council chamber remained completely silent, an unprecedented event in itself. Then chaos erupted. 3 hours later, in a secure meeting room deep beneath the Council chamber, the inner circle gathered. Only 12 beings held seats here, the true power behind the public face of galactic government. This makes no logical sense, said Medrax, the representative of the hyper-rational Tauran collective. Humans benefit enormously from Council membership. Their economy has grown 300% since joining. Their security is guaranteed by our combined fleets. Unless they no longer need our protection, suggested Admiral Krav of the Parnassian Military Command, her scaled skin darkening with suspicion. Could they have developed weapons we don't know about? Elder Zix Terran shook his crystalline head. If conquest were their goal, they wouldn't announce withdrawal. They would strike without warning. High Chancellor Clavari tapped a sequence on the central console, bringing up displays of data. Let us consider the actual impact of human withdrawal. What exactly do we lose? The analysis appeared before them, and the room grew quiet again. This cannot be correct, Medrax finally said. But the data was clear. Despite being newcomers, humans had quietly become essential to galactic stability in dozens of small but critical ways. The Morethi relied on human negotiators for their most sensitive biological material trades. No other species had the right combination of scientific understanding and intuitive grasp of Merethi needs. The Jexari financial algorithms, which stabilized currency across 17 sectors, were calibrated based on human market behaviors and would become increasingly unstable without that input. Even the Council's much-praised translation system had incorporated human linguistic frameworks that made it 43% more effective across all languages. They were the keystone species, Elder Zix Terran said softly, and none of us noticed until they pulled it out. Admiral Krav stood up abruptly. We must send representatives to Earth immediately. Whatever their grievance, the stability of the galaxy is at stake. Agreed, said the Chancellor. Ambassador Calax of the Nuar should go. Their telepathic abilities will help us understand what the humans aren't saying. Meanwhile, on Earth, Ambassador Mercer's shuttle descended through the atmosphere toward the sprawling complex beneath Geneva. Night had fallen over Europe, but the diplomatic compound was fully illuminated and buzzing with activity as Earth prepared for isolation. Security officers escorted her through a series of checkpoints, each more stringent than the last, until she reached the lowest level. Here, in a room known to fewer than 200 humans, Earth's true leadership awaited. It's done, she reported to the grim-faced men and women seated around the table. The Council received our message exactly as planned. General Wei nodded, once. And their reaction? Exactly as Dr. Chen predicted. Complete shock, followed by urgent concern. They'll send envoys within days. Dr. Eleanor Chen, the brilliant physicist whose discoveries had set these events in motion, looked up from her datapad. Dark circles under her eyes spoke of months without proper rest. They'll try to change our minds, she said. They'll offer technologies, territorial concessions, security guarantees. None of which matter anymore, completed President Okafor, her normally warm voice now hard with resolve. On the wall, a series of digital displays showed countdown timers. The largest read 30 Wang and was counting down by the second. Mercer looked at it, then back at her colleagues. Do we tell the Council representatives the truth when they arrive? Dr. Chen shook her head. The models are clear. If we tell them now, there's an 87% probability they'll try to take control of the situation. Their interference would doom us all. Then we stay the course, President Okafor decided. Operation Blackout continues as planned. In 30 days, the existence we've known ends one way or another. On screens surrounding them, classified feeds showed massive activity throughout the solar system. On Earth, on the Moon, on Mars, and in the asteroid belt, enormous construction projects were underway, projects unlike anything humanity had shared with their galactic neighbors. May God help us all, whispered Ambassador Mercer, because 30 days from now either humanity would save the galaxy or nothing would remain to save. 5 days after humanity's shocking announcement, the effects began to ripple across the galaxy. On the trading world of Merethi Prime, 3 vital biological exchange treaties collapsed without human mediators to manage the complex relationships between rival clans. Clan leader Zivnara watched helplessly as the central exchange hall emptied. The Merethi, masters of biological engineering, could create miracles with living tissue, but struggled with the emotional complexities of their own society. Human negotiators had somehow bridged those gaps. Can we not simply continue the agreements as they were structured? She asked her advisors. Impossible, replied her chief scientist. The humans understood our needs while respecting our boundaries. No other species has both capabilities. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out. The Jexari conglomerate, whose vast trading network spanned 17 sectors, watched in horror as their stock exchange crashed, upon realizing that 40% of their predictive algorithms were calibrated based on human market behaviors. Sell everything, shouted traders on the Jexari homeworld as values plummeted. By the end of the 7th day, the Galactic Council's economic analysts estimated that trade had decreased by 18% across all member species, a drop not seen since the Quantum Plague 3 centuries earlier. Ambassador Calax of the telepathic Nuar species prepared for the most important diplomatic mission of his life. His sleek vessel, the finest in the Council's diplomatic fleet, approached the edge of the Sol system with caution. "We're receiving a transmission from human patrol ships," his pilot reported. On the view screen, a stern-faced human military officer appeared. "Council vessel, this is Captain Rodriguez of Earth Defense Force. You will follow our escort precisely. Any deviation from the course we provide will be considered hostile action." Calax moved into view. As a Nuar, his slender blue-skinned form and large eyes were designed to put other species at ease. Most importantly, his species' natural telepathic abilities allowed him to sense emotional states across 37 different sentient species. "Captain, we come in peace as representatives of the Galactic Council. We seek only to understand. Follow the navigation coordinates being transmitted." "To your vessel," the captain interrupted, then terminated the connection. Calax's antennae drooped slightly, the Nuar equivalent of a frown. "Most unusual. I wasn't able to sense anything from him at all." His aide looked concerned. "Could humans have developed some kind of telepathic blocking technology? That would be unprecedented," Calax replied. In his 300 years of diplomatic service, he had never encountered a species that could completely shield their emotions from Nuar perception. The journey to Earth took 3 days, during which the human escort ships maintained complete communication silence beyond basic navigation signals. When they finally entered Earth orbit, Calax observed massive changes since his last visit 2 years ago. The orbital platforms teemed with activity. New structures had been built, and huge vessels moved between Earth, Mars, and the asteroid belt carrying materials. Whatever humanity was doing, it involved their entire solar system. In the United Earth Government headquarters beneath Geneva, President Okafor received the latest updates. "The Council diplomatic mission has arrived in orbit," General Wei reported. "Ambassador Calax of the Nuar is leading it." Dr. Chen looked up from her workstation. "The telepaths? That's concerning." "We've prepared for this," Ambassador Mercer reminded them. "Everyone meeting with Calax has been treated with the neural inhibitors." President Okafor nodded. "How is Project Darkstar progressing?" "We're at 43% completion," Dr. Chen replied, gesturing to the complex holographic displays showing construction throughout the solar system. "But we're facing material shortages that could slow us down. Can we speed up the asteroid mining operations?" "We're already pushing all equipment beyond safe limits," General Wei said. "If we push harder, we risk catastrophic failures." The countdown on the wall now read 24/18/37. President Okafor studied it grimly. "We don't have a choice. Whatever resources the teams need, they get. We're in a race against extinction." The council delegation was escorted to a conference room in what had once been the Swiss Alps. The room was starkly functional, a dramatic contrast to the usual elaborate diplomatic venues where interspecies meetings took place. Calax and his team waited for nearly an hour before the humans arrived. The delegation was led by Ambassador Mercer, accompanied by 5 stone-faced military and government officials. As they entered, Calax extended his antennae fully, attempting to read their emotional states, and encountered something unprecedented: absolute emotional silence. It was as if the humans weren't there at all, though he could clearly see them. "Welcome to Earth, Ambassador Calax," Mercer said with formal politeness, but none of her former warmth. "The United Earth Government acknowledges your arrival." Calax performed the traditional Nuar greeting gesture. "Ambassador Mercer, the Galactic Council sends its deepest concerns. Whatever has prompted this sudden withdrawal, we wish to understand and address it." "There is nothing to address," Mercer replied flatly. "Humanity has made its decision." Calax leaned forward. "Ambassador, in just 7 days, your withdrawal has caused significant disruption throughout Council space. The Merethi biological treaties have collapsed. The Jexari markets are in free fall. 17 different diplomatic processes have stalled without human mediators." For the first time, a flicker of emotion crossed Mercer's face, something that might have been regret. But Calax couldn't sense it telepathically. only observe it visually. We understand the consequences of our actions, she said quietly. Calax made a gesture, and one of his aides brought forward an ornate data crystal. The Council has authorized me to offer extraordinary concessions. We propose technology exchanges in 6 areas previously restricted to humans. We offer territorial rights to 3 additional star systems on your borders. We guarantee enhanced security protocols with a permanent Council fleet assigned to protect Earth's interests. The human delegates showed no reaction. They simply listened, in that strange emotional void that disturbed Calax more than any hostile response would have. Whatever grievance has prompted this action, Calax continued, the Council is prepared to make amends. We value Earth's participation in galactic affairs more than you may realize. Ambassador Mercer glanced at her colleagues before responding. This is not a negotiation, Ambassador Calax. This is a notification. You have 24 days remaining before we implement Phase 2. Phase 2? Calax's antennae quivered with concern. What does that mean? It means, President Okafor spoke for the first time, that you should ensure all non-human entities are well beyond the borders of Sol space before that deadline, for their own safety. The meeting ended abruptly after that, with the humans refusing to elaborate further. As Calax's ship departed Earth orbit, he observed something his escort hadn't wanted him to see. Massive human fleets mobilizing throughout the system, constructing enormous structures around key strategic points. They're preparing for something catastrophic, Calax told his team as they accelerated away from Sol. The question is, are they preparing to face a threat, or to become one? What Calax couldn't see was the activity on Mars, where an enormous installation was taking shape, using technology no human had ever shared with their galactic neighbors. Chief Engineer Okonkwo surveyed the central chamber where the heart of humanity's last hope was being assembled. Will it be ready in time? Asked Dr. Chen, who had just arrived from Earth. It has to be, he replied simply. There are no second chances. The countdown continued its relentless march toward zero. Council Archon Paloros paced the secure intelligence chamber on the Galactic Council's central station. As head of galactic security, he had access to information that even most council members never saw. The room's walls displayed reports from across the galaxy, all focused on one problem, humanity. Show me the deep cover agent reports from Earth again, he commanded. The holographic display flickered, then showed an error message. Connection lost. No data available. Paloros's scaled face darkened with concern. All 15 deep cover agents on Earth had gone silent within hours of the diplomatic break. That wasn't just unusual. It was impossible unless they had been discovered or... Sir, his assistant interrupted. We've received an unusual astronomical report from Monitoring Station 47. Monitoring Station 47 was positioned far from normal space lanes, specifically designed to watch the darkness between galaxies. Paloros hadn't received any alerts from that station in over 50 years. Display it, he ordered. The main screen filled with technical data and images. At first, it seemed like nothing, just the empty void beyond the galaxy's edge. But then, adjusting the sensors to different spectrums revealed something disturbing. A distortion in space-time, moving slowly but steadily toward the Milky Way. When was this first detected? Paloros asked. That's the concerning part, sir. The station has been tracking it for 11 months, but the alert protocol failed to notify Central Command until today, when a routine maintenance check was performed. 11 months. Right around the time humans had begun subtly changing their behavior in council matters. Before that, Earth representatives had been pushing for deeper integration into galactic affairs. Then suddenly they had become more reserved, focusing their questions on defense systems and deep space monitoring capabilities. Cross-reference this anomaly's trajectory with the Sol system, Paloros ordered. The computer worked for several seconds before displaying the result. A direct intercept course. They knew, Paloros whispered. Somehow they detected it first. Further investigation of secured databases revealed more disturbing patterns. Human industrial output had increased by 300% in the past year. their military had quietly redistributed throughout their system. Most telling, they had purchased enormous quantities of exotic materials used in quantum field manipulation, far more than their official technology level should require. They're not preparing for war, Peloros realized. They're preparing for survival. Deep beneath the Martian surface, Dr. Eleanor Chen watched as the massive quantum device took shape. The central chamber was nearly a kilometer across, with equipment unlike anything humanity had ever built before. The latest simulations confirm our theory, she told the gathered military and scientific leadership. The entity will reach Sol in 18 days. If our calculations are correct, it will consume our sun as it has consumed others. And after that, based on its trajectory, it will move directly toward the galactic core. Holographic displays showed the path of destruction they had pieced together over the past year. A string of dead star systems creating a line through space, heading directly toward Earth. Whatever this thing was, it fed on stars and moved on, leaving only cold, dead worlds in its wake. General Wei frowned at the simulation. And you're certain conventional weapons would have no effect? Absolutely certain, Dr. Chen replied. It exists partially outside normal space-time. You can't shoot something that isn't fully in our universe. Chief Engineer Okonkwo stepped forward, his face showing the strain of months of around-the-clock work. The prototype tests are successful, he reported. The quantum entanglement field successfully created a micro-bubble of altered space-time for 3.7 seconds before collapsing. Is that enough? President Okafor asked. Dr. Chen shook her head. We're still only at 60% of the capacity we need. If the Council interferes now, we're all dead. We need absolute focus to make this work. The massive device they were building was humanity's last hope. A quantum trap designed to create a controlled black hole that would capture the entity and isolate it from our universe. The science behind it had been developed in secret over the past 20 years, deliberately hidden from Earth's alien neighbors. Why did we keep this technology secret? President Okafor had once asked when first briefed on the project. Because, Dr. Chen had explained, quantum manipulation at this level isn't just a technology, it's a weapon. If misused, it could tear apart the fabric of space-time itself. We couldn't risk sharing it until we fully understood its implications. Now, humanity's secret research was their only chance of survival. Ambassador Calax's report to the Galactic Council created an uproar. The idea that humans had somehow blocked Newer telepathy, a capability thought to be impossible, deeply disturbed many council members. They're clearly preparing for war, insisted Admiral Threx of the Parnassian fleet, his tentacles writhing with agitation. Those structures Calax observed could be weapon platforms. But war against whom? Asked Elder Zixus Terran calmly. If they intended to attack the Council, why announce their withdrawal? Why not strike without warning? The debate continued until Archon Peloros requested an emergency closed session. Only the inner circle of 12 remained as he shared his disturbing findings. We believe humans have detected a threat approaching from beyond the galaxy's edge, he explained, displaying the data from Monitoring Station 47. Some kind of entity that consumes stars. Based on its trajectory, it will reach the Sol system first, then continue toward the galactic core. The chamber fell silent as the implication sank in. And the humans are preparing some kind of defense? High Chancellor Clavari asked. It appears so, but they're doing it alone without sharing what they know. Why? Demanded Admiral Threx. If this threat is real, shouldn't we combine our resources? Elder Zix Terran's crystalline form glimmered as he considered the problem. Perhaps they feared we wouldn't believe them without proof. Or perhaps they feared we would take over and implement our own solution. Which is exactly what we should do, Threx insisted. The combined might of the Council's fleets could overwhelm Sol's defenses. We could force them to share what they know and what they're building. The Council remained divided. Some argued for immediate military action. The combined fleets could reach Sol in just days. Others counseled patience, warning that interference might doom whatever preparations humans were making. A compromise, suggested High Chancellor Clavari. Finally, We will send a small elite team led by Ambassador Calax to infiltrate Earth and discover exactly what the humans know and what they're building. Meanwhile, we'll mobilize our fleets to strategic positions around Sol space, ready to attack or assist as needed. The motion passed by a narrow margin. What the Council didn't realize was that human quantum surveillance had been monitoring the entire debate. On Mars, military commanders reviewing the intercepted transmissions pressed for preemptive strikes against the gathering fleets. No, Dr. Chen insisted, looking up from the quantum device schematics. We've run the numbers. Even with the entire galaxy's resources, we barely have a 3% chance of survival. We need them intact after this is over, whether they believe us now or not. The countdown on the wall now read 1807-22. In the darkness beyond Pluto, something moved, a distortion barely visible even to the most sensitive instruments. The entity had entered the solar system, and it was hungry. Ambassador Calax prepared his small team for the most dangerous mission of their lives, infiltrating Earth during what appeared to be a planetary emergency. The Council had provided them with the most advanced stealth technology available, AI, small ship that could bend light around itself, making it nearly invisible to conventional sensors. Our mission is information gathering only, he reminded the 5 specialists chosen for the mission. We enter Earth's atmosphere undetected, discover what the humans know about this entity, and what defense they are building. The team included Mira, a Salavi engineer whose 6-fingered hands could interface with almost any technology, Drex, a Vanthi warrior whose chameleon-like skin could change color and texture for perfect camouflage, Trill, a Zephian information specialist with an eidetic memory, and 2 more Nuar like Calax, whose telepathic abilities would be crucial if they could overcome whatever blocking technology humans were using. What if we're discovered? Asked Drex, checking his non-lethal stun weapon. We explain our purpose. Truthfully, Calax replied, we are not enemies of humanity. We face the same threat they do. Their ship detached from the Council flagship and engaged its stealth systems, becoming a barely visible ripple against the stars as it accelerated toward Earth. With 13 days remaining before what humans were now calling the encounter, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. The evidence gathered by Archon Peloros was presented to all 500 representatives. The strange space-time distortion approaching from beyond the galaxy, its direct course toward the Sol system, and the unusual preparations humans were making. The evidence is clear, Admiral Threx of the Parnassian fleet declared. Some kind of entity is approaching that may threaten not just humanity but our entire galaxy. Yet humans are keeping their knowledge and whatever defense they're building to themselves. Elder Zixtaran's crystalline form glimmered as he rose to speak. We must consider why humans chose isolation. Perhaps their solution requires complete focus. Perhaps they feared our interference would doom their efforts. Or perhaps, countered Threx, they're building something that threatens us all. We know they've hidden advanced quantum technology from the Council. What else have they hidden? The debate grew heated. Some Council members proposed immediate military action. The combined might of the galaxy could overwhelm Sol's defenses and force humans to share whatever they knew. Admiral Threx displayed a holographic battle plan. A conventional assault on Sol would succeed eventually, he admitted, but would cost billions of lives and might destroy whatever the humans are building. If they're preparing a weapon, we must strike. If they're preparing a defense against some greater threat, and we could be dooming ourselves. The Council remained deadlocked for days. Meanwhile, Calax's infiltration team approached Earth, and the combined fleets of the Council moved into position at strategic points near Sol, ready for any outcome. On Earth, Dr. Chen worked with barely any sleep, coordinating efforts between the Mars facility and teams across the solar system. The quantum device, now called the Trap by those working on it, was nearly 80% complete, but time was running dangerously short. In the presidential bunker beneath Geneva, General Wei burst into a strategy meeting with alarming news. We've detected a Council stealth ship entering Earth's atmosphere, he reported, and our long-range sensors show Council fleets gathering at the edge of our system. President Okafor's face remained calm, though her eyes showed her concern. Were you able to intercept the stealth ship? No, Madam President. It's using technology. Beyond our capability to track consistently. We catch glimpses, then lose it again. They're sending spies, Ambassador Mercer concluded, and positioning for a possible attack. The military commanders immediately pressed for preemptive strikes against the gathering council fleets. We can't fight a war on two fronts, insisted General Wei. We can't face both the entity and the council at once. If we attack council ships, Mercer countered, we guarantee war. There might still be a diplomatic solution. Dr. Chen, joining via secure holographic link from Mars, looked exhausted but resolute. The simulations are clear. Even if we somehow defeated the council forces, the energy expenditure would leave us with insufficient resources to activate the trap properly. Our only hope is to complete our work without interference. President Okafor studied the latest projections, then made her decision. We continue as planned. Increase security around all major facilities, but do not engage council ships unless they fire first. She turned to Dr. Chen's hologram. How much longer do you need? The trap will be physically complete in 3 days, Chen replied. But we'll need at least 5 more days to properly calibrate the quantum field. That puts us dangerously close to the encounter. Then we need to buy you time, the president said. If Calax and his team are here to spy, perhaps we should let them discover some things, but on our terms. Calax's infiltration team successfully reached Earth, but found something unexpected. The planet's major cities were nearly empty. Streets designed for millions held only a fraction of their normal population. Automated systems maintained basic infrastructure, but the usual buzz of human activity was absent. Where is everyone? Whispered Trill as they moved carefully through the abandoned streets of what had once been Tokyo. Using advanced scanning technology, they detected massive energy signatures coming from underground. Across the planet, humans had moved most of their population into enormous subterranean complexes. Following these energy signals, Calax's team discovered ventilation shafts leading into one such complex, outside what had once been Denver. Drex used his chameleon-like abilities to avoid security sensors as they made their way deeper into the facility. What they found astonished them. Vast chambers where millions of humans were gathered around quantum communication arrays. Not in panic, but in focused coordinated activity. Engineers worked on equipment. Scientists analyzed data. Ordinary citizens performed tasks following instructions from central command posts. It's like the entire species is functioning as a single organism, murmured Mira in awe. Calax tried, again to use his telepathic abilities, hoping the blocking technology might be weaker underground. To his surprise, he sensed something. Not individual human minds, but a strange collective pattern, as if billions of thoughts were being somehow synchronized. Before they could investigate further, bright lights suddenly illuminated them from all directions. They were surrounded by human security forces, weapons drawn. We've been expecting you, Ambassador Calax, said a familiar voice. Dr. Eleanor Chen stepped forward, her face showing exhaustion, but her eyes sharp with intelligence. I think it's time we talked honestly about what's coming. Instead of the arrest or execution Calax had expected, his team was escorted to a secure meeting room where, to their surprise, President Okafor herself waited. We don't have time for games anymore, she told them simply. In 10 days, an entity of pure dark energy larger than Jupiter will reach our sun. It doesn't communicate. It doesn't negotiate. It feeds on stars and moves on. She activated a holographic display showing the entity's path through space, a trail of dead star systems leading directly to Sol. The Council only detected it recently, Calax said. But you've known for almost a year. Why the secrecy? The combined scientific knowledge of the galaxy would have taken too long to convince, Dr. Chen interrupted. By the time we provided enough evidence to satisfy the Council's protocols, it would be too late. And our solution required resources and focus we couldn't afford to share. The countdown on the wall told the story. 10/14/52. Just over 10 days until the entity arrived. It's time you saw what we're building, President Okafor said. And then you need to convince your fleets to stand down, because if they attack now, nobody survives what's coming. Calax and his team were escorted to a high-speed underground transport system. As they traveled, Dr. Chen explained what humans had discovered. We first detected anomalous readings 11 months ago from our Deep Space Telescope array, she said. At first, we thought it was an equipment malfunction, a strange shadow moving between stars. But as we focused more instruments on it, we realized it was real, and it was coming toward us. The transport slowed as they reached a massive underground hangar filled with shuttles. "We're going to Mars," President Okafor informed them. "What we're building couldn't be constructed on Earth." During the journey to Mars, Dr. Chen showed them the complete data Earth had gathered. The entity, or the Devourer as humans called it, had consumed at least 7 star systems before humans detected it. It left nothing behind but cold, dead planets orbiting empty space where stars once burned. "We tried to communicate with it," Chen said. "We sent signals across all known frequencies. Nothing worked." Calax studied the data carefully. "This is why you began asking questions about Council deep space monitoring systems." "Yes," admitted President Okafor. "We were surprised your networks hadn't detected it. Later we discovered why. The entity exists partially outside normal spacetime. It doesn't reflect light or other energy in ways our technologies usually detect." "How did you detect it then?" asked Mira, the Scifi engineer. Dr. Chen smiled slightly. "We got lucky. A graduate student was testing a new type of quantum detection system and happened to point it in the right direction. We've since improved those systems, but the basic principle was discovered by accident." As their shuttle approached Mars, Calax finally asked the question that had been bothering him most. "Why didn't you tell the Council when you first discovered this threat? We could have helped." President Okafor and Dr. Chen exchanged glances. "2 reasons," Chen finally said. "First, proving the existence of something that most conventional sensors can't detect would have taken months of debate and verification. Second, our solution required technology we've kept hidden from the galaxy." The Mars facility was enormous, a vast complex extending deep beneath the planet's surface. As they descended through many security checkpoints, Calax sensed the growing excitement and tension among his team. Whatever humans were building here was clearly beyond anything they had ever shared with their galactic neighbors. Finally, they reached the central chamber, a circular space nearly a kilometer across. In the center stood a device unlike anything Calax had ever seen. Massive rings of unknown materials rotated slowly around a central core that seemed to shimmer and shift as if not entirely present in normal space. "This is the trap," Dr. Chen explained. "It's designed to create a localized space-time knot, essentially a controlled black hole, to capture the Devourer and isolate it from our universe." "This technology," Mira whispered, her 6-fingered hands moving in the gesture of her people's deep shock. "It's quantum manipulation at a level I didn't think was possible." "We've been developing it for over 20 years, Chen admitted. "It started as pure theoretical research, but as we understood its implications, we realized how dangerous it could be if misused." "Which is why you kept it secret," Calax said, understanding dawning. "This technology could be weaponized. Yes, in the wrong hands, it could tear apart the fabric of space-time itself. We couldn't risk sharing it until we fully understood and could control it." Chief Engineer Okonkwo approached, his face showing the strain of months of non-stop work. "The physical structure is complete," he reported. "We're entering the final calibration phase now." "Will it be ready in time?" President Okafor asked. "It has to be," he replied simply. Dr. Chen guided them to a control room overlooking the central chamber. Screens displayed simulations of how the trap would work when the Devourer arrived. "The energy requirements are staggering," she explained. "We've had to repurpose our entire planet's power grid. But even that isn't enough. We need focused human consciousness to stabilize the quantum field." "Human consciousness?" asked Trill, the information specialist. "I don't understand." Chen activated another display, showing the underground complexes on Earth where billions of humans were gathered. This is the other technology we've kept secret. We discovered that human brains, when properly synchronized, can affect quantum states. It's a form of consciousness-based quantum interface. Kalak suddenly understood the strange collective pattern he had sensed while trying to use his telepathy underground. You're linking billions of human minds together. Yes. When the Devourer arrives, we'll need the combined focus of humanity to stabilize the quantum field long enough to activate the trap. That's why you needed absolute isolation, Kalax realized. Any interference in the quantum field could collapse the entire framework. Chen finished. That's why we cut diplomatic ties. That's why we need your fleets to stand down. With just 7 days remaining, Kalax faced a momentous decision. He believed the humans were telling the truth. His telepathic abilities, though limited by whatever technology they were using, could still detect genuine conviction. But would the Council believe his report without proof they could verify? I need to send a message to the Council immediately, he said. Kalax's message reached the Galactic Council as emergency debates continued. The infiltration team's disappearance had only increased tensions, with many council members assuming humans had captured or killed them. Admiral Threx was preparing final approval for military action when Kalax's transmission arrived. The council chamber fell silent as they watched his report, complete with visual evidence of the Mars facility and the trap. The threat is real, Kalax concluded, and humans are preparing a defense that might save us all. But they need our cooperation. Any interference with their quantum fields could doom their efforts, and our galaxy. The council erupted in debate. Many remained skeptical, arguing that the transmission could be faked, or that Kalax might be under duress. Consider the evidence, urged Elder Zixtaran. The anomaly our own sensors detected, the unusual human behavior over the past year. Their withdrawal makes perfect sense if they were preparing for this. Or it could be an elaborate deception, countered Admiral Threx. A way to hide the development of a weapon that could threaten us all. As the debate raged, the entity's presence became increasingly difficult to ignore. Council scientists reported disturbances in space-time near the Sol system. Several sensitive monitoring stations went offline completely. After 3 days of heated argument, Elder Zixtaran made an impassioned final plea. I have lived 900 years and observed humanity closely for 2 centuries. They are argumentative, illogical, and often infuriating, but they have never abandoned others to their fate. I believe them. The ancient Voldari's words carried weight. One by one, other council members began to shift their positions. With just 4 days remaining before the Devourer would reach Sol, the council reached a decision. They would not attack. Instead, they would position their fleets to observe and, if possible, assist. What they didn't know was whether this help would come too late. On Mars, the final preparations for humanity's last stand were underway. As the shadow of the Devourer grew ever closer, the Devourer entered the outer Sol system, its presence now unmistakable as Jupiter's outer moons began to disintegrate in its wake. It wasn't visible to normal eyes, but instruments showed a massive distortion in space-time, larger than Jupiter itself, moving steadily toward the inner planets. On Mars, the final preparations for the trap were being completed with desperate speed. Engineers worked around the clock making last-minute adjustments to the quantum containment systems. Will the Council fleets interfere? Chief Engineer Okonkwo asked Kalax, who had chosen to remain on Mars as a liaison. I don't know, the alien diplomat admitted. Many still believe this could be an elaborate human deception to hide the development of a weapon. Dr. Chen looked up from her final calculations. In less than 48 hours, they'll have their answer. One way or another. The MWOI quantum communication system activated, showing President Okafor's face from her command center on Earth. Status report? The trap is physically complete, Dr. Chen reported. Final calibrations are at 94%. We'll be ready to activate when the Devourer reaches the optimal position between Mars and Earth. And the consciousness network? All 7 billion participants are in position. The synchronization protocols are running smoothly. We're as ready as we'll ever be. President Okafor nodded grimly. Then we proceed as planned. May whatever gods exist watch over us all. The Council observation fleet maintained position at the edge of the Sol system, watching as the Devourer's effects became increasingly evident. Neptune's rings had been pulled apart. Several small moons had simply vanished. The data was undeniable now. Something massive and destructive was moving through the solar system. Aboard the Council flagship, Elder Zix Terran received regular updates from Calax on Mars. The Council had remained divided, with many members still insisting that humans were using this supposed crisis to hide the development of quantum weapons technology. The evidence is before your eyes, Zix Terran told the emergency council session via holographic link. This entity is real and humans are attempting to stop it. Admiral Threx, who had been the strongest advocate for military action against Earth, finally conceded. The threat appears genuine, but can humans truly stop something of this magnitude? Should we not evacuate them while there's still time? They have refused evacuation, Zix Terran replied. They believe their plan can work, and they're willing to risk everything to try. High Chancellor Clavari made the final decision. We will not interfere with humanity's efforts, and we will stand ready to assist if possible. As the Devourer approached the orbit of Mars, its effects became more pronounced. Gravity fluctuated wildly. Communication systems experienced increasing interference. On Earth, billions of humans connected to the consciousness network, their minds linked through the quantum interface technology. In underground chambers across the planet, people lay in specialized pods, wearing neural interfaces that synchronized their brain patterns. They weren't controlling the trap directly. No single mind could manage its complexity. But together they created a unique energy pattern that stabilized the quantum field. On Mars, Dr. Chen and her team made final adjustments to the trap. The massive rings spun faster, creating a shimmering field at their center. Quantum field stability at 87%, reported one of the technicians. We need at least 95% for successful activation. The consciousness network needs to synchronize more deeply, Dr. Chen said, checking the readings from Earth. Something's interfering with the pattern. Kalak stepped forward. Perhaps I can help. My people's telepathic abilities. If I link with your neural network, I might be able to detect what's causing the interference. It was a dangerous suggestion. No non-human had ever connected to the human consciousness network, but they were running out of options. Do it, authorized President Okafor from Earth. Calax was connected to the neural interface system. As his mind joined the billions of linked human consciousnesses, he experienced something unprecedented. A vast ocean of thoughts and emotions, all focused on a single purpose. But he also detected the problem: fear. Despite their training, as the Devourer approached, humans couldn't help feeling terror at what was coming. Using his telepathic abilities, Calax projected a sense of calm and unity throughout the network. To his surprise, other minds responded, not just humans, but the other council representatives who had been observing. One by one, they too connected to the network, adding their unique consciousness patterns to the whole. Elder Zix Terran was the last to join, his ancient crystalline mind bringing a sense of timeless perspective that steadied the entire network. Quantum. Field stability at 96%, 97%, holding steady, announced the technician on Mars. Dr. Chen looked at her monitors in amazement. The combined consciousness of multiple species. It's creating a quantum pattern we never imagined possible. The Devourer was now visible from Mars as a distortion against the stars, approaching Earth's orbit. It was time. Activate the trap, ordered President Okafor. The massive installation on Mars fired, creating a space-time distortion directly in the Devourer's path. For one terrible moment, nothing happened. The Devourer continued its approach, now visibly distorting light around it as it prepared to consume the sun. Then, gradually, its trajectory began to bend toward the artificial singularity. The strain on humanity's system was catastrophic. Power grids worldwide failed as they channeled impossible amounts of energy to Mars, The Mars installation began to break apart under the quantum stresses. In the control room, alarms blared as systems overloaded. "The containment field is destabilizing," shouted Chief Engineer Okonkwo. "We need to maintain it for just 2 more minutes." Dr. Chen and her team, refusing evacuation, made manual adjustments to the failing systems, sacrificing their own safety to keep the trap functioning. In orbit around Mars, the Council fleet, originally positioned to contain humanity, now moved to support them, channeling energy to the failing systems, using tractor beams to stabilize the collapsing facility. It wasn't enough, but it bought precious seconds. 30 seconds to complete containment, announced the automated system. The Devourer, now caught in the space-time knot, emitted a final burst of energy before collapsing into the artificial singularity. The Mars facility shook violently as systems failed catastrophically. "Containment field collapsing," warned the computer. "Close the loop," Dr. Chen ordered, inputting the final command sequence herself as the control room crumbled around her. The singularity pulsed once, twice, and then closed upon itself, taking the Devourer with it. Silence fell across the solar system. 3 months. Later, Ambassador Mercer, now elevated to humanity's first galactic archon, addressed the Council once more. Earth and Mars had suffered catastrophic damage. Millions were dead, including Dr. Chen and most of her team. But the solar system, and the galaxy beyond, had survived. "We hid ourselves from you because we feared you weren't ready for our methods," she told the assembled representatives. "We were wrong. You weren't ready for our trust. Today, that changes." As rebuilding began, a new era of galactic relations emerged. Humanity rejoined the Council, not as just another member species, but as recognized saviors of galactic civilization. The other species, humbled by humanity's sacrifice and ingenuity, began to understand what humans had known all along. True strength lies not in age or technology or numbers, but in the willingness to act decisively when facing extinction. The final breakthrough came when human quantum consciousness technology was integrated into the Council chambers, linking minds across species for the first time in galactic history. "They nearly destroyed themselves to save us all," murmured Calax to Elder Zixtaran as they watched the new system being activated. "And now they offer their greatest secrets freely." "That," replied the ancient elder, his crystalline form glimmering, with new respect, "is precisely why the galaxy needs them. They remind us what it means to be truly sentient." As the new consciousness network activated, connecting minds across thousands of worlds, humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy was not their technology but something far more precious, a new way of understanding each other. The end.